Hey, what's up, everybody? English Dave here for another episode of the Nerdy Bunch Review. We're doing episode 3 of our Lovecraft Country review podcast series. I'm here with my co-hosts Raven, Rocket Mike, and Mercedes. What's up, guys?
Hey.
What up, Dave?
You know, I've been excited for this episode. Letitia fucking Lewis. You know, it's about time she got her own
Right?
episode.
Yeah.
Journey Smollett is continuing to show me, I will say me, and I'm assuming most people out there, that she needs to be taken seriously as an actress. Like, we need to pay more
Honestly,
attention
she's
to
hands
her.
down one of the best actresses on TV that I've ever seen.
Right?
Very strong, a lot of range.
Yeah.
Agreed. The synopsis for this episode, this episode is titled Holy Ghost, and those of you who are versed in Christianity know that is a Christianity reference, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, which is fitting. Episode 3, the Holy Ghost. I wonder if that was on purpose. If they picked this exact episode. The synopsis is as follows. Letty turns a ramshackle Victorian house on Chicago's north side into a boarding house, an endeavor that stokes racism and awakens dormant spirits stuck in the house. George's wife, Hippolyta, presses Atticus for the full story of what happened in Ardham. This episode takes place around a month later from the past episode. We found out that Uncle George has had his funeral, and the team has lied about what happened to him. They said the sheriff killed him, and that they killed the sheriff. But she's still kind of there's something that's eating at her. She still thinks there's something else that's not being said. Raven, I want to talk to you. I think I can't pronounce her name. Anjane? I can't pronounce her name. The lady that plays Hippolyta. Can you say her name? I can't.
I was thinking Anjane.
Anjane. Yeah, it could be Anjane. Anjane Ellis, Raven. I want to talk to you about her performance.
Ingenue?
Anjane? It could be Anjane.
Not sure.
Listeners,
You
viewers,
should have looked this up.
let us know
Raven
how to
basic-
pronounce.
Yeah.
Angino.
I'm
Anjano.
surprised
Anjano.
Raven hasn't said that girl over there.
Yeah,
That
homegirl.
homegirl
Homegirl
over
Ellis.
there. Homegirl Ellis. That's
Whatever.
There you go.
Her real name is Hippolyta. So whatever. That's what we're saying. But I want to talk about her character first in this episode. Before we get to, Letty, I want to ask you, Raven. I think her performance is so understated yet powerful. What did you think of Hippolyta in this episode?
Well, she hasn't had much screen time since the show started, and I feel like the few moments that she does have, in terms of acting, the actress Miss Ellis is doing a great job. I think that just like the small subtleties, her mourning but trying to be strong. For a little while, I struggled to figure out where, this episode took place after everything that happened. I couldn't figure out if it was like a flashback or this had happened after or how long after. So I couldn't exactly map it out. And judging by her emotions, it was hard to tell too. But I think that that's a good thing because it almost portrays that in this time, this is something that's common. You have to just get over it. Even though it's been a short amount of time, you have to be strong. You have to go back to business as usual. You're still expected to, churn out these guides. So I did like the small subtleties and the couple of moments we did have her on screen. I felt like it was believable that she was somebody that was going through a lot. And I'm also very interested to see what that star reference is going to mean in the future. What's the device called? I know there's a word for it.
I wrote it down. It is an orrery or something like that.
Yeah, an orrery.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what that's going to mean because I know it had to be a very big hint at something. They wouldn't have just thrown that in there.
And you get a sense that there's a lot more to her than we know. She's a lot smarter than we've seen so far. And I think she's an interesting character that's going to get more attention going forward. I think they're just planting little seeds right now. We also find out, Sadie's, we find out that Letty bought a house. Okay, this is one
Moving on up. Actually,
This is one
on
time
up
where
to the north side.
right to the north side. This is one time where I questioned the blackness though. Because I wouldn't buy that house. I don't care what you're talking about. That house looked haunted. Like you looked at it and you're like, nope.
Wasn't
There
enough
was a
horror movies
meme
at the time.
trending where it was like, Letty, I'm buying a house. And then it was like the house and it showed the house from it.
Exactly.
It's
Without
the same thing.
even spoiling our podcast because we're going to get to that.
Whatever, get to it.
there is
It's all spoilers.
It
can
all
get to it.
spoilers, right? But
Yeah, it's all
the
spoilers.
reason why she ends up buying that house because she's covering up the guilt of the money that she should have split evenly.
I love the line the sister says, all this time, I used to think you were fucking up, but I just realized you're actually fucked up. I was like, damn.
Yeah, 'cause she
I heard
does
the
a little
song.
bit.
That's the
Oh,
She does
shit.
what her mom does. She abandons,
Yeah.
right? She left, but she abandons under the guise of, helping others. And she is doing a good thing, but she left her family because she didn't want to deal with that. And she went to go help. She made a new family with her friends. And that's what she was pioneering. And then she's asking money from her family because she doesn't want to accept the money that her mom gave her, even though we know it's not from her mother.
Well, that's the thing. Initially, I wasn't sure.
that was going to be my... Sorry.
I was going to say, I wasn't sure if she knew, but I think by the episode, I don't think Letty knew. I think Letty believes the money came from her mother, and not,
Right, yeah.
not the actual truth. I don't think Letty knows the truth. I don't think.
We, as the fourth wall, the audience, know.
Yeah.
Yes,
we know the deal.
We know.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the sisters, their relationship, Ruby and Letty, because I think that is an interesting relationship there, because you almost see both sides as right. Right, you understand where both sides are coming from. You don't say one is wrong and one is right. They're both kind of right. It's just they both haven't had a chance to talk and come to common ground. So it's like it's other shit that's causing this rift. It's not just this moment. It's a whole bunch of other shit.
Yeah.
And I find that their relationship really interesting because the sister points out one thing that's interesting when she says to Letty, you said you wanted this house to help people, but it's only full of your friends. And I was like, huh. I found that it's like, okay. And it's almost like the idea of one, it says that Letty isn't perfect. And I like characters that, I hate storylines that put main characters as perfect, right? She's this activist and this person who still does things. She still has this selfish nature. Yeah, I'm an activist.
She's Letitia fucking Lewis. I mean, come on. You built up this whole persona of like this badass female. So we get it, Dave. We get it.
But on top of that, though, she still has her selfish natures in terms of for various reasons, right? And I feel because the sister was right. You should have spoken to us about this money. But your guilt, like you said, Sadie's, your guilt made you make this decision to tell yourself this is better. When it's like, well, maybe we could have all decided how the money is going to go.
Exactly. And that's what the sister's main point was. Like, you definitely should have, but what you did was you didn't want to like address the whole mom issue because you hate mom. So you just hid this money away, pretended like it wasn't there, and then asked us for money to help your friends. But now we're going to buy this house and be like, hey, come live with me. But all my friends are going to live here too. Like, it's just, it's a little weird. So I like that we get to see that she's not like, she's human. That she, she's a human woman that makes mistakes. In episodes 1 and 2, we've seen basically like Wonder Woman, right? And now we see that she is a whole human.
One thing I want to quickly say just on that subject, I think that their relationship is interesting, but I also think that it's tough to really decide, who's right there because, there's a lot of stuff we still don't know about the mom and Letty's relationship. And beyond that, something I was reading into is apparently in the books, they discuss more about how it's a big deal that she was able to buy this house in the white neighborhood. You can't do that without some type of connection, which is why, the police officer was like, who got you to buy that house? Who helped you? Because honestly, back then with redlining and it was literally illegal to buy a house in a white neighborhood. So it is interesting, like, that she might not know where the money came from. She might think it's her mom, but I do wonder how she thinks she got the house because I don't think that's just her, even though it's run down.
Yeah.
I think and you will speak on it later in this podcast from Sadie's, but there is a difference in the book and this, in that in the book, one, they know that they kind of when they first see the house, Letty and Ruby get the house together, and that's earlier on in the story. They get the house, by the way, and they kind of acknowledge, this house might be haunted, but it's like, whatever. The purpose of this house is better than our fear. So it's almost like they address it, but then they kind of move forward with it. And there is a purpose to that house. And like I said earlier, what I like about it is that you can understand both sides of the sisters if you just listen to one side. And the problem is they're not talking to each other. And that's the problem, right? But again, that's family, right? And I think it does a good job of showcasing that family aspect. Mike, speaking of family, I want to talk to you about Atticus. At least at the beginning of this, Atticus is going through, he's feeling guilt for not telling his aunt what happened. He's feeling some kind of way about it. And then he ends up going to his father. We don't get much from Atticus in this story. He's almost like a background
He's a supporting role.
Yes.
He's taking it. He's just carrying and doing the best he can. Like, right. You know what he looks like?
He's great timing though. Impeccable timing. He's always around when you need him.
Yep. The poor guy is like carrying all these eggs but no basket, and he's like, "I'm just trying to help, but I don't know what I'm doing."
Well, he's playing the exact character that he was explaining to his dad. He's like, "Oh, remember Uncle George used to tell us that story when you two were surrounded by this white mob, and this guy practically came up on a horse with a baseball bat and just started cracking heads. And the only thing he said, or at least the last thing he said before he left, was, 'I got you, kid.'" And that's what he says when he splashes water on his father's face. But now you just said it right there. It's like Atticus is actually now playing that exact mysterious character. He's coming in when you need him, and he'll leave when
he's that mysterious man with the bat.
He is.
Mm-hmm.
Same. And number 42 coming in now.
And it informs us on why he dreams about that, right? Because it's a story he's been told for so many long. And I like that because it's like our dreams are based on our experiences and things that we're fed through during the day, and we dream about that at night. And I like that we get why he dreamt of what's his name again? 42?
Jackie Robinson.
Yeah. And I like that. I like that angle. Let's talk about the house itself. Raven, I want to talk to you about the house itself. This is essentially an episode which is a ghost story house, right? And what I like about this show is, as much as we get these ghosts, the worst people are still the white cops. You know, like it's just like it's still the white cop.
Still,
put me back in that haunted house already.
Because there's a ghost of a friend of a white cop. Like,
right?
Come on.
But not even that. Raven, you touched upon it just before. Redlining in itself, you know, take away the ghosts and stuff. Redlining itself is scary, and we get a couple of moments redlining. So Raven, I want to talk to you about that. You know, that moment. You know, that when those white guys come and just start putting the horns blaring out and just antagonizing. You know, I think one of the things
it's so tough because we all want to react like Letty.
Well, that's the thing, right?
I'm appreciative that we got that scene as one of my favorite scenes of anything ever. But
that's the thing I want to talk about is Letty's reaction, because she gets two reactions, right? There's two reactions for Letty. The first reaction, which is what all people of color have to learn real hard, is that when other people try to just break us, we just have to ignore it. And so, like, I love how that's kind of referenced in this by them having a party. You know, that party is a representation of black people trying to go over their lives and ignore the pain, trying to ignore the racism, right? We're trying to drown out the racism with our music, trying to drown out the racism with our thing. You know, that whole, you know, Raven, how did you feel about the whole redlining? And then, like you said, the resolution at the end when she became Letitia fucking Lewis.
Yeah.
Right?
I think just like, the whole episode, I feel like everything kind of being centered around the house being its own character. I really love the character of the house for the story moving forward, if that makes sense. There were so many things overlaying that happened in the house, you know, just one little thing like, Emmett Till being in the basement with the Ouija board, you know, like I didn't realize that. So I was like, Bobo, wait a minute. And like Googling, I was like, that was Emmett Till's nickname. And, you know, just like the small little subtleties, but I did love, I love the moment, you know, because that's the thing about this show. It's interesting that the most tense moments are the moments of real history. Like the actual true parts are the scariest. And I think that, you know, the first part where they're all in the yard and they look out and there's, you know, this, not army, but this whole front line basically of white dudes staring there with weapons, you know, provoking you, waiting for you to react, and you can't, you know, because you'll go to jail or whatever. That moment was super tense, and I did love how it kind of showed everyone's reactions at the time, because even the strongest character still has to deal with it, you know? And then leading to the party after, and a part of me was like, don't even have the damn party, you know, which I can't lie. I did love that, you know, they had the party anyway, like you were saying, they have to just ignore it. And then the night of the party, and the night of the party, you know, everybody got a couple of drinks in their system. They're feeling real good, you know. And this is after the sex scene too, which I was like, whoa, a lot's happening. Just
she got some D and she's ready.
Yeah, just to storm right out. Like, I'm loose. Let's go.
She's like, oh.
So, yeah, and leading to the climax, I absolutely loved it because I felt like even the racist were watching it terrified. They couldn't do a damn thing about Letitia fucking Lewis, you know? And just her bashing the windows was very Beyonce. And it's funny because I actually mentioned, I think, on the podcast last week that Journey Smollett has become my Beyonce of acting. And literally, sure enough, in the scene that I'm currently in right now, I don't know if you guys can tell.
Okay, hold up.
I rewinded that scene like 10 times. In my head, I was hearing "I Ain't Sorry" by Beyonce, even though it was gospel.
Bringing out hot sauce.
And even just, even the soundtrack, I think like playing gospel during that moment, it was so cathartic. It was amazing. I felt like it was a religious feeling. I felt, the whole moment, just the bash in the windows and how all the black men just stood behind her. Like, she's going to do this. And we're going to stand there with the guns in case somebody gets.
Can I jump in there for a second, just for that moment? Sorry to cut you off, but I think that moment when the guys come and just hold it's very rare that you see a black woman in a time of justified rage being supported like that.
Yes, black men. Like, I was like, whoa.
That was so artfully.
I rewinded it like 10 times.
No
One of them
words.
gave her their jacket. Like, I was just like, what?
It was just like, we all know the drill.
Thing.
We all know the drill. And then at the end, when Hippolyta
everyone
takes
just
the
got on their
weapons,
knees.
when she takes the weapons, it's like, yep, hide the weapons, get out of here.
Sis was so down. Sis was a down ass chick, yo.
I was like, okay,
Sis
then.
pulled up with the trunk open. At first, I thought she was just escaping. I thought she was like, oh, time
I
to
know,
go.
that was the best
I ain't getting
part
arrested.
when the sister came with the gun that she was out.
Yo, and they just knew, trunk open, stash the guns, pull
And
off,
then
cops
on
pull
their
up.
knees.
I was like, yo, this is amazing.
Or even little
This is
touches.
amazing.
Again, it
So
speaks
badass.
on, for those who don't know, it speaks on the black experience that when the law enforcement comes, we all know the drill. And that's, that's how sad the reality is. We know the drill. We know, assume the position, make sure you don't look a certain way, get rid of everything.
Get rid of it. Yep.
Even little things like earlier on when Tick puts on his military outfit, and someone mentions like, oh, good, smart wearing military outfits, so they would be less likely to provoke you. Things like that, that us black people had to learn to do to make it easier.
It's sad, but it's true. You'd be like, invite at least 2 of those. Have y'all stand near the door in case somebody comes through. It looks real good in here. There's somebody regulating. We don't need no cops.
Right.
Terrible.
Let's talk about some new information that we found out that applies to the larger narrative here, right? This is mostly a standalone episode, but there are things that we get with the larger narrative. We find out that the house isn't just a random house. It used to belong to, what's his name?
Hiram Epstein.
Yeah, Hiram Epstein. And he was part of the order, but he was kicked out.
Yes, he was.
He was kicked out for stealing pages from the book for himself. And so this makes this house special because they need to find, it's this codec that can translate the words of Adam, the language of Adam, which is what we find out that, what's her name is trying to find? Christina. That's why she gave money to Letty to buy the house, because there's something about this house that she wants and there's a bigger plan. Mike, I want to talk to you about Christina. How do her powers work, do you think? Because Tick can't shoot her.
Yeah. And obviously she didn't say anything. Right. I don't know if there was some kind of field that she planted there. Honestly,
she didn't say anything.
She's a
she
witch.
Didn't have to do
she got
anything.
Spells.
She didn't expel Aramis anything, so.
Blink twice and tap the heels. I don't know. But
Expecto
that's still...
Patronum! There was none of that.
Harry was in the back room, he's like, just I'll make you look good, don't worry.
Right.
That's gonna be still a mystery. I have no idea how she's doing this. Apparently all of the people in the order could only do one spell at most their entire life. But now to have this book that could decipher this language, it's like, yeah, pick and choose whatever kind of spells you want. Just pull
Here's
them
the
out
question.
Of a bin,
Here's a question: I wonder if the spell on her or is the spell on Tick? Like, is it?
Well, she had said that her dad
had
figured out a spell for invincibility.
Like he had,
So I'd assume that she has it too.
But
it is confusing with the not being able to trigger. But I wonder if it's like a family thing, like
or only black people. Maybe black people can't kill him. When she does say the line, I love that line. You can't go around.
That line hurt.
White women.
That hurt.
Because
you got to be smarter than that. Like, ooh,
I mean, it's so true.
Than that. You can't just kill white
women.
women.
Kill a white woman. It's like
that reminded me of Amy Cooper. This lady Amy Cooper, where you just understand the power.
Birdwatcher.
Right? Yeah, you understand the power of the fact that you're a white lady over a black man. You understand what that means. That just him pulling the gun on her could be his death sentence. Like just that alone.
Yeah. I was terrified when she started opening the blinds back up and he's still standing there with the gun. I'm like, anyone could just walk by and be like, what the fuck's going on?
Right.
That was that was the terrifying part. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh shit.
In episode 2, didn't the ritual or whatever that her dad did, it passed down to her kind of thing?
No. She said in order to do the ritual, he had to take off the
Yeah, he took it
power
off.
off of
But he
himself.
didn't like give it to her. She doesn't have like double. Like, can she stack up?
Can she stack it?
Can you hold this for me, please?
Can you hold my
Makes
immortality?
I have no
Yeah.
idea. Because don't forget,
Try
his
it on.
plan was to get natural immortality without, to go into Eden and have it naturally. So I guess that's why he took over the unnatural version of it. But like she said,
organic invulnerability.
right? But like she said, there's a whole book. All this power they have is from one page. That's what
But
it
they
is.
only ever deciphered one page.
Yes, because they lost the codec. The guy stole it. And so
And the
now,
Kodak is under the house.
yes, it's somewhere in the house.
Allegedly.
In that tunnel we
Allegedly.
saw at the end.
Yes, allegedly.
For sure.
And let's
But
keep
how did those bodies get down there? We still don't know who carried those.
The house.
the house itself.
They,
Yeah, well, from what
they
I was
could've
looking
been
into,
people that-
apparently the house is going to be like a pivotal part
Yeah.
in the show. The house itself has magic.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The
Powers.
house itself.
Yes, because that
Right.
is one of the general differences of the book. Hiram Epstein, spoiler alert, huge one. What he did, his experiments on people were actually not like removing body parts per se. Like he would just create open portals and leave whole human beings like in these other dimensions and just leave them there.
You're like, okay,
So-
bye. Go to the other side of the universe.
Like, peace out. Yeah,
Fun.
and just leave you. No food, no what. We don't even know like if you can breathe there. Which, spoiler alert, maybe Jai, like her Princess of Mars. That is how
I was gonna say.
we have a John Carter situation.
John Carter reference.
Because Letty and Hiram actually work on something on a bigger scale in the book. So Hiram it doesn't get killed in this whole like seance thing, but it actually works the way they did it in the show because it was one of the most beautifully acted scenes I think I have ever seen. So powerful with Journey doing that. But that is one of the big differences. Like Hiram is around and like that's what he does.
I want to talk about ghosts in this episode. Like you mentioned, Sadie's. I'm kind of bouncing off what you just talked about. It's true about what happened to black people. We've talked about in the previous podcast in terms of experiments done on black people for various reasons. And I like how the ghosts are implemented in this. One of my issues with ghost stories as a whole is always that ghosts are implied to be evil. In every story, like as soon as you see a ghost, it's evil. As soon as you see a spirit, it's evil. And I've always said, why aren't there good ghosts help me destroy the bad ghosts? Like, what's up with that? Like, you always see haunted house stories where someone was killed violently by a spirit, and then 10 years later, a new family moves in there, and the person who was first killed is now doing the killing. It's like,
Yeah.
what?
Or
Well,
a warning.
I
Or
will
it's like
say,
a warning.
'cause-
They're telling you like
Yeah.
to get out, but they're not helping. Like you can move the cabinets and tell me to get out, but
Well-
you can't help me with anything else.
Quickly, I will say in situations like that, what ends up happening is the stronger spirit is the one who takes over the house. So if someone's super angry, but 40 other people died peacefully there, the angry spirit is going to be the overpowering spirit. Being that all of the other spirits there were victims of this person, it makes sense that in the afterlife they would still feel powerless. They needed Letty's character to give them enough strength to fight back.
But that's been my issue with horror stories, is that you never have a character to give them the empowerment like that. Like, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
I think
why-
that's what has been missing is the catalyst or like the bridge between worlds to kind of move these things on.
The whole narrative of the ghosts helping you, it's real life is funny like that. Sometimes when it comes to haunted houses and things like that, we look at ghosts as scary. But when we're in trouble and we have prayers or whatever you do, we look to ancestors, right? We look to the past to deliver us guidance. So it's just like, okay, well, are ghosts good for us or bad for us? And I like a narrative that kind of shows that they can be both, depending on how we perceive them. Because we never get narratives that show ghosts in a positive light, unless it's Casper the Friendly Ghost. But we never see friendly ghosts that help us against evil ghosts, right? We never see that. And I like the idea that this was the way it was played. Raven, like you said, it was like a two-way thing. She helps the ghosts of the black people kind of find healing.
Yeah,
And
move on.
in that sense, but if you
Because
backtrack
I'm sure
a bit,
they didn't want to stay prisoner
Right,
to
in
that
the
house in their afterlife too. And I also like that in the process, you were watching them heal physically while she was
Yeah,
chanting, which
I
I
was gonna
thought
say
was
that.
really, really cool.
the baby head was no baby head no more.
Yeah, it was
That's-
a regular
that was
head. I
so
was like, oh, thank you.
Creepy. That was on
That was horrifying.
Toy Story Sid level.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Raven-
was messed up. I felt like this episode was the most horror. I feel like they
Right.
embraced like
Fully.
this is also a horror show. H.P. Lovecraft's books are horrors. You got to get used to this, because I feel like for some people watching, I think it's easy to forget, that the show is supposed to kind of be a horror.
Right.
So I
Because you don't
did,
get black people in horrors that survive or playing the main
no,
characters.
but
That's
I
why.
love.
No, you do not.
I also love this and feel like it's refreshing because it's like circumstantial or coincidental horror. It's not like we're walking into the problems. It's like the problems are finding us. And that's the truth. That's the only way we're going to be in a lot of these scenarios is if we just had no other choice. We didn't know, but it's not going to be the same type of movie where, we hear some sounds in the house and we're like, let's go investigate. That's not us. We're not doing that. But if we bought a house and we already lived there and we don't have no other choice and then we hear some stuff in the basement, we'll deal with it.
But that's what I like about Letty's character, right? Is she sees, part of the story is her character, right? In terms of the Holy Spirit, right? The Holy part of the biblical narratives that Jesus died 3 days later, he came back, he resurrected. She goes through a resurrection, right? This episode reminds us that she died and has come back, and the episode opens with her in the church also dealing with that. Everyone's all happy, feeling the Spirit, while she's just there like feeling nothing because she died and came back again. And the whole episode's her trying to feel something. Even down to her sexual moment with Tick. It's about, and even down her sexual moment with Tick and her breaking those car windows. It all comes down to the same thing. She wanted to feel something. She wanted to feel
alive.
She was numb. She was dead. Dracula,
literally.
Right? The Dracula reference. I
was gonna say, I really do think that the Dracula references have a lot to do with her.
Right, exactly. And I liked her journey through all of this. And when she says, I don't remember the line verbatim, when she says the world has changed, but I'm going to find my stake in it. So she isn't going to, so when she finds out the house is haunted, it isn't, I'm going to run away like most us black people would have done. We always say that. We always say, why do white people always stay in the house? Get out that house.
When dude rises from the floor in your basement, though, and was like, get out, you would have still stayed?
I love that. That vision effect was so well done.
Because that effect was amazing, but I can't lie. My ass would have left and not look back.
But see, this is what I like about her character, though. It's because everything you're saying is correct.
She's a fighter.
I would have left too. But you have to remember that her narrative is, I died and came back.
True.
Nothing's going to stop me. Fuck you guys. I'm going to, this world is new, but I'm going to find my place in this new world. Because that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Our fears in real life are based on the unknown. But she knows ghosts are real. She knows demons are real. She knows magic is real. So she's like, the world is a new place right now. I can't be running away from it. I got to face it head on and stake my claim in it and put my both feet down. It's going to be scary, but get out of my house. I love that.
Great.
A black person telling other people, get out of my house.
Yeah.
It's
that was
like
crazy.
the opposite.
It was like, well, all right. Yeah, sure.
It's like, okay then.
Get out of there.
That moment where she gets the priestess to come and help him get out of the house. What I like about that is that the show has shown us how white people use magic and stuff like that. Well, this is the black people bringing their own magic, their own thing to
right.
I love
the
that.
exorcist,
No blood.
the priest comes. So I love it with like black culture. We had Creole and
Haitian,
I guess is that voodoo? Is it voodoo?
Yeah, Haitian voodoo, Creole.
Yeah. But it's not done in a negative connotation. It's done in a cleansing,
It never
spiritual,
was.
And
protective.
it worked.
Yeah.
The
And
only
it's
thing that
actually
didn't work,
showing what it does versus what it's been depicted as.
they messed up when they broke the circle when the sprinkler happened. But before that,
I like
they were
that.
killing it.
Well, the ghosts did that.
Yeah, exactly.
The ghosts did that. They were smart. Those were some smart asses.
It was a nice touch. It was a nice touch to the sprinklers. I did like that. I did like
Yeah.
that. And that's the thing. It's like this episode was really kind of changing some expectations around. And let's go back to some of the real horror of it, right? The real horror is two moments, right? The first moment is when the police officer arrests her in the car. That sequence when he holds on tight, and she's like, I was like, damn, this.
Yeah. I was like, what is he?
That was messed up.
I was just like, but another scary moment, but it was great for us. I want to talk to you about it, Mike. I love how it was played out while they're doing the exorcism. You see the three white guys walk into the house, and Mike,
That was so
how did you
good.
like those scenes, Mike?
Oh, I like them apples a lot. That was that scene was just I knew that was going to come back with the elevator. It
Oh yeah.
it was already nice, like a little foreshadow in the beginning. When Letty sticks her head in there, but I'm like, oh no, watch some dumbass just keep us. Oh, I wonder what's going on.
Somebody's gonna get it.
And you even said like this is very Jordan, and like they stayed on that decapitated body for a while. Just
They really
letting it
did.
go.
They were like, this
Something-
is what happens.
Was there supposed to be something in the elevator?
I don't know.
This is what blood looks like when it trickles out of her brain. I don't know if you needed this detail,
Yeah.
but this is that detail.
Yeah. For like a while. Just so you know, like just really study this for a
Slowly.
second.
This is what we do with racist up in here.
I love the moment with the two guys. I love the two guys where they was like, they're in this room. Go, and they just bash into
They're
the
so
room.
tough. Yeah. Y'all
like,
so tough. But what happens when you see a dead man with a
By a
baby
grown
head
ass
Baby.
baby.
and a basketball outfit? Like, what
Seriously.
are you gonna do now?
No joke. We spoke about this off podcast, but when we saw that man baby head, I was taken aback to Toy Story 1 and Sid's room. Like, I was just like,
Yeah.
That was terrifying.
Yeah, exactly.
I felt like Jordan Peele watched that. He was like, John Lasseter, you think that's creepy? I got you, my man. I got you.
How do you make it scarier? You make it black.
Seriously.
And you make the baby cry.
Right,
I was like, whoa.
You're not expecting that. You're really not.
No.
You hear that sound and you turn around, it's not what you're expecting to see.
Maybe like a dead baby, but like when it was so big and like I was like, it made you want to stare at it longer, but
Right.
then
Yeah.
it was so horrifying.
It's just like,
I'm like,
it almost made you
nah.
want to look at other ghosts and be like, what other weird creatures are there? You know?
Oh my god, like
Right.
baby legs,
But you don't want to look, but you're like, what is that?
We get a brief moment with Diana, D, they call her, Uncle George's daughter.
Did anyone catch? I thought they called her D the whole time. Like,
They
and then
mostly call her D.
I didn't
Yeah.
know her name was Diana, and
it's
then
Diana.
it's like Wonder Woman, Hippolyta, Diana. It's the same. So I'm like, what's going on here?
I only knew her name was Diana because I checked IMDb. I don't remember they've said.
I think
I don't
everyone
think they've
calls
said.
her D. I don't know if they
I don't
do
think they've
call her
said
Diana.
Diana.
I'm
They
not
haven't
sure.
said
Yeah, I
Diana.
was like, I don't know if they've ever seen. That was funny when the mom's looking for you, Diana. Said
So
your whole name.
two questions. One question for you, Raven. How many black people do you know that play with Ouija board?
Okay, because I was going to say, that's where I started. His parents and I were like, okay, but Ouija boards and black people. But at the same time, it's the 50s. There's a big
Was the
chance
game
that
new,
they didn't
maybe?
know
Yeah,
what we know now in 2020, you know?
that's true.
Because I know in the 90s, my little ass wasn't going nowhere near no Ouija boards. I knew from birth. I don't know, I feel like we knew out the womb, don't mess with these. But it could be that we only know because things like this were happening in the 50s.
Exactly. Had nothing to do. They were like
Yeah,
alone.
so it's the
First
only
of all,
reason
how-
I'll give it a pass because I'm like,
Fine.
y'all don't have commercials and like wide, you don't have widespread knowledge like we do. Because there's a chance that, white people were playing with Ouija boards and we just didn't know. Somebody could have given us a free one. But yeah, I liked the moment. I felt like the little subtle moment at Emmett Till with the "Am I gonna have a good time on my vacation?" No, you are not.
Here's my question:
Yeah.
Who is the one who wrote George is Dead?
That's what I
it the
wonder. I don't
house?
know.
Because at first I thought it just was going to spell George, so I thought it was Uncle George himself, his spirit.
Yeah,
but
I
it
thought he
says
was gonna be
is
like
dead.
George said, "What up?"
Yeah, exactly.
George said, "Yo."
So is this the house talking? Because again, we assume the house has its own, persona or whatever. So is this the house talking, or was it another spirit telling her about? Because I think there's a lot to do with Dee's storyline we haven't seen yet.
Yeah,
Dee, I
no,
think
there's a lot. I think she's gonna end up being like a major part of the show somehow.
We finally get the moment of real Tick having sex with real Letty, not fake one.
It was kind of traumatic for me. I can't lie. I was like, no, don't roll down the pants. Don't pull the pants. It's a snake in there.
Yay, no snake penis.
Snaky. We spoke about it last week about her trauma, about how hard it would be for them to get together again. But I think they did a good job this time because you understand why it happens, because it's her moment of living. It's the moment of
She's like, snake or no snake, I'm doing
yes. I want to feel something.
I'm taking all the risk.
And I love the moment afterwards though. When she sees the blood, I love that Tick doesn't react like whoa, bitch. Some guys can be insensitive like that.
Exactly.
It shows his character as well, to being like, no, it's
Tick
okay.
is super down this whole episode. I was like, you know what? That's husband material right there, girl. Good for you.
Find out she was a virgin. This is the first time.
But that was my
Whoa.
speculation when it happened. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
it'd be crazy if she was a virgin the whole time and people think she's like some loose woman in the streets, But it's typical. At
I was
that
gonna say,
time,
that's
all you have
usually
to do is smile at someone, and they're like, "She's a whore,
she shows her ankles.
harlot."
Right? Didn't
You
the
know, like
sister
what
say
they
in
said,
episode
she
1?
doesn't have on leggings. You know,
Leggings,
it's like,
no leggings.
Stockings. Yeah, stockings.
Yeah, she doesn't have
Right.
on stockings. It's like, dude, come on. You know, meanwhile, she's a whole
Right.
virgin. This guy's like, we used to tussle back in the day. What the hell is tussle,
Lies.
sir?
He's a
If she's a
liar.
virgin, that
Goddamn
means
liar.
you sitting around making some shit up.
That dude's
Right.
virgin.
Right? Because you're mad that she smiled at somebody else. The
Yeah,
nice thing about
she's your
this
girl. You
is,
might want to let her know.
Nice thing about this is another subtle difference from the book. They don't have a relationship at all. And their names are different. It's Letitia Dandridge and Atticus. Wait, what was his name again? Atticus Turner. They were two different people, and they were just strictly platonic. So it's nice that they're creating this. The show writers are creating this whole relationship, which like you said, Raven, has been material. Like even just having friends, like Black men, support a Black woman enraged. It's all of this encompassing, just showing that sort of like real love is really nice, because that's not in the book, and they were able to take that to another level, which is cool.
Yeah, in a
I
way
also
that
think-
it doesn't feel forced, too. Because
Yeah,
at first I
no, it
didn't
doesn't.
want a romantic relationship at all, because I was like, ugh, could we just have a strong Black female, strong Black male lead without having to be romantic? Like, I don't want to deal with the romantic drama behind it. But I appreciate that, like, you get the sense that they are first and foremost friends. And Tick is a down-ass friend for her. Same as she's, you know, a ride or die for him. And I feel like from that, you know, this romantic relationship is developed, but it's more understandable based on everything that they've been through in the past couple of weeks, you know?
I think it works also because the actors, you know, they're great.
Yeah, they
chemistry
do so
together.
great. Mm.
I think they're great. You can feel it without being forced. Because even initially, he doesn't want to start something with her. You know, like he's not like, I'm out to get her. I'm going to go and get Letty. You know, that's not his intention. He falls for her the same way she falls for him. And I
You're
like that.
watching like a natural, slow progression in the show. Even like the song, "Is It You or Is It
Love
Ain't
that.
My Baby?" When he walk in, and that's performed by the sister. And you just get this. It's funny, like you have that little comedic moment where it's like, oh, so you wanted to pull your hand away, but now you're mad now, and she's dancing with somebody else. And so that the show has this. All of that. And
He
like,
was
I just
trying to
love it.
leave. He was going back to Florida, too.
Yeah.
Like,
and
let's
I
not
was
forget
like,
that. At the
damn.
beginning of this episode, he was coming to say goodbye. He wasn't planning on sticking around.
But he was leaving. He was
But
leaving
she
based
put
on
that
guilt.
dress on. She
Yeah.
put the dress on, and then he was like, I guess I'm not going anywhere now. Huh?
Nah, he
based
saw
on-
them white dudes pull up, and he was like,
Right.
nope, I'm protecting this house.
Because
He
he was
was like,
leaving.
I'm not leaving her.
He was leaving based on guilt for his aunt. You know, he had no real reason to leave. It was basically because of guilt. And I love the line where him being around reminded the aunt of George, because it hits you like, because he's George's son, maybe.
That's his daddy.
It's like,
She might know that too.
yeah,
she
might know.
knows. She
Like,
knows she's his aunt
Right.
for real, for real.
So she's gonna see character traits.
He's his,
and
like,
things
stepmom.
like that. Right.
Yeah, it would be.
Because
Yeah.
remember, she's like ripping up his favorite. Remember, she lies about the book initially.
Yeah.
So, and she's saying that she's trying to feel something for her husband. So, like, it is showing that maybe their relationship wasn't always so, you know, great. And then she has to deal with the fact that finding out, like, if this is not, you know, if that is his son, then, you know, was there infidelity on his part? Yes.
I feel like she knows.
Yeah, I think
She knows,
so-
and
in
I
some
think
way.
that's why she.
But back in the
She's
day,
mad.
like, you just get over it and whole damn neighborhood be with
But
you.
do you get over it? Because that
Rip up
the
this book.
actress's name, who we can't pronounce, Anjounet, like she plays, like we were talking about it earlier, just the best quiet, just rage. Like you know, it's going, she's gonna explode.
It's boiling
but,
beneath
like,
the surface.
It's boiling, but that boil beneath the surface is so like well
we don't.
acted.
It's like, how is it going to explode itself? Is it going to explode itself in a
We don't
positive
know
way
yet.
or a negative way? We don't know. She could turn
Yeah.
out to be a
It's
crazy
coming.
villain. She could be a villain.
I'm
you know,
like,
a justified
y'all keep
villain.
pushing her, lying to
be-
her, thinking she's stupid.
Yeah.
She's gonna explode.
Yeah. Also, one moment I just wanted to bring up before I forget, just a moment of Tick walking into the bar and seeing Letty in her frantic state with all those papers out, and she's literally like, my house is haunted, and his only response is, hell, walk me through it.
Right,
And he just
right.
puts his little glasses on. I was like, yo, that is a dope ass friend. Like, forget a romance. That's a dope ass friend. You know, that's
That's
some like
what I'm talking
bestie
about.
material.
They create
Let's do
this
it.
great
Because he
dynamic.
didn't think twice. He just whipped out his glasses. All right, let's go.
It's like, I know you're not crazy, so
Break it down. You know, I've
you
seen
can-
some shit.
Raven, their relationship, Raven, reminds me of, and this is slight spoilers, of one of the greatest shows ever made, Fringe. There's two characters in Fringe who I did not want them to be together, and by the end of it, I'm like, I love them. They need to have all the babies.
Favorite. Yeah, it definitely feels like that.
And it feels like that, where it's just like, it's not forced, but it makes sense. Any standout moments that we haven't talked on yet? I'll start with you, Mike.
Not so much like, the standout moments in the series itself, but just still how it revolves, or at least speaks on real life events that has happened that go with this. We were talking about the experimentation. That was actually all real. I think it was in the early 30s. Public Health Service was tracking a few patients that they had syphilis. And even in that 40 years, from the early 30s to early 70s, they didn't treat them once syphilis was cured. They wanted to keep seeing what the effects were going to do in the long term. But really, they're just torturing these people. Of course, they were black people. So it wasn't until like the early 70s when they finally, got reported on. But it's like fucked up things like that. And then it was just obviously going into, Sadie's, what you were saying about the actual experimentations with different dimensions and everything. All this stuff I had no idea about. I'm sure it doesn't surprise me, but it's not something I would think on. But, it's shows like this that definitely paint more of history of what had happened, and we keep going back to the example of Watchmen, what happened with that massacre. So it's like, what was it? The
Tulsa massacre. But then, like we spoke on previous podcasts for our Vast of Night review, which touches on the Tuskegee Airmen that were experimented on, right? People don't know there were doctors out there, white doctors, who were trying to say black people don't feel pain, so it's okay to do all this stuff without anesthetic. So even last week's episode touches on that, right? Using tick as the vessel to open the portal, always using black people to experiment.
That's actually still true. My mom was telling me that when she was going to the doctor, and it was only up until recently, but a lot of white doctors believe that black women do have a higher threshold for pain, which is why
it's only like recently where that's been debunked, sadly. Like it was for a long time.
Only recently, which means that there are a lot of doctors that are like still coming out of that funk, which is really sad. Which is why there's been a lot of like horror stories of like, with women and prenatal stuff,
black women dying in childbirth
and childbirth, and it's because like that statistic, like they really believe that black women, like we had a higher tolerance, we could take it.
Raven, any favorite moments that we haven't mentioned yet?
One of the things I meant to mention is watching the show the second time, watching the episode, I had realized not the speech, but what they had said in the beginning, how they were like in 1955, a group of black people moved to South Chicago, they bought a house. It said underneath, about a week later, 3 men entered the house and were never found again. When I first saw it watching the episode, I assumed that the people that went missing were the black people that moved in. And watching it a second time, I realized that was foreshadowing, talking about the 3 white men that they found in the house that disappeared. So I thought that was interesting, because from reading it, your perception of it is it's automatically got to be some black dudes. So I did like that by the end of the episode, you realize that it was white men that walked into the house trying to cause harm and ended up missing, and that was kind of a cautionary tale to the neighbors. I love that, like, just in terms of the editing. And I think just ultimately, like, one of my favorite moments, that ending sequence, I just think the acting was so amazing. Journey Smollett, like, just with the chants crowded around all the ghosts, I just felt like, for me, just the whole episode as being a black female was just so empowering, and that end sequence was amazing. My cheeks hurt watching her scream cry like that, though. I was like, like holding my face. It's really good.
You mentioned 2 things. One of them was, that the intro. What I like about that intro is, like you said, you think it's talking about black people, it's talking about white people, but I think that is very layered, because it tells us that nobody gives a shit if black people went missing. Nobody gave a shit because white people went missing.
Because even I didn't. I was like, right? Shoulder shrugs. It happened.
Right.
That
wouldn't have been in the news if it was a couple of black people went missing. No one cares. But it's in the news because some white people went missing. I love that because even the main crew, they're like, we don't know anything about some missing white people because the house hid it from them.
And they don't know what happened. They really don't.
They literally don't know.
I did think they're like, haha, she played that well. And I was like, no, she actually has no idea. She was in the basement dealing with a whole demon.
And the neighbors don't talk to them. So it's so dumb. Like all of the neighbors' tactics between like the honking horn, it's like, doesn't that affect you too by having
right?
that?
But that
like your battery is gonna die on your car. What does that do for me? Okay.
But that tells you about racism,
sleeping.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, your horn is gonna
so
go out.
Dumb.
They'll
so
really,
dumb.
cut off their nose to spite their face type.
Yep.
Yeah, because I know your kids can't sleep either with them horns.
People are missing in the neighborhood, so you're not even gonna go talk to the people across the street where you know they went into that house, but you just because you hate black people, you don't want to find your friends that are missing.
There's a quote I read somewhere that said, "Racism is not a black problem; it's a white problem."
It is.
It's like this is framed in the sense that, when they're causing the white guys are causing the problem outside with the noise and everything like that, it's not for black people to fix that noise. We do all we can to drown the noise out and make sure we don't hear it. But ultimately, you're causing the noise. You're causing the disturbance. Like Sadie says, you're causing the noise in your own neighborhoods because you just don't want us around.
Yeah, as fellow neighbors, y'all should check them. That's a disturbance.
Somebody went through the painstaking process of making signs that say white only. It wasn't hand painted.
Like you spent money on that.
I feel like that's a prime Whitey's on the Moon example, though. You have time to make whole signs and shit and make them all fancy when I'm just out here trying to clean my basement. What are you talking about? I don't care about you right now.
You. Oh man, yeah.
One other thing that's mentioned is touched upon. We get a quick mention of Martin Luther King. Did you guys catch that?
Mm-hmm. And that's actually a true fact, which I didn't know. Yeah. Learn something new every day.
We find out that he was. I don't know exactly.
He was
how
dating
true
a
the
white
fact
woman at the start of his kind of fame
in real life.
Or his
but this one says that he was supposed to marry her. We don't know if that's true.
That we don't know.
He was supposed
we
to
just
marry
knew he was
her.
dating a white woman while he was in college.
Yes, and his name was he was going by a different name, not Martin. It was like Michael or something like that.
Yeah.
They say his name. They say different.
Yeah.
They said he's going by Martin now.
Yeah.
And I love that moment. I love that moment with Janae Smollett where someone alludes to the fact that, why would he be with a white lady? And she's like, well, there's no problem with that. I love that.
She basically said, oh, yeah, because him dating a white woman, he can't stand up for our rights.
Yeah.
And just walked away, But it's like, that makes sense. I like that she's progressive enough, and that says something about her character, where she's basically saying, I don't give a damn. As long as he's doing what he has to do and doing right by black people, then why are we mad about him having a white girlfriend, wife? What?
That's not.
But I like her also joking, being like, but maybe he does, still understanding where they're coming from.
Exactly.
Checking them and making them realize, listen, he gonna fight for us, but I feel you. Whoop, my thing's off.
I was like, what are you doing?
Just dropped.
I thought you were women.
She's got. I did like. Here's a question I gotta ask. Letty doesn't have the same last name as Ruby.
No, she has someone else's last name. People are speculating her dad might be white.
I was gonna say because that could make sense to why she said what she just said.
Apparently, in the books, though, she's just black, but she's light skinned. Both her parents are black, but she's light skinned, and her sister's darker. But they have the same last name in the book. It could be that she has a whole different daddy.
I feel like they don't make it changes for the sake of changes because in the book they have the same last name. There's a reason why they gave her a different last name.
Exactly.
It might be because her dad's white, might be another reason, but I think there is a reason why they have a different father, same mother. I think there's something to that. Maybe she's related to Tick as well.
Oh
man, don't do that.
Which is what the snake peepee was. It was like a metaphor. Don't do it.
Back away. We're warning you.
Really
this is a no.
Poison.
Leftover questions. We already asked one of these. What is Christina up to? We know she's trying to get the codec, which is in the house, but what is her overall grand plan? Is she good? Is she bad? Somewhere in between.
We don't know. She's playing chess.
She's got her own agenda. I don't think it's about anybody but her. I think it's maybe discovery in general.
Right. Why couldn't she shoot Tick? We know a bit of it, but what's the whole story around that magic? How does it work? Do you have to think it? Do you click? Do you have to wear something on your arm or something on your body that nobody can see?
Also, I like that she embraces him as family. She's also, like, oh, cousin.
Raven brought this up. What is that what's up with that room with Orrery that Hippolyta sees, and she gets her attention.
I feel like
What's up with that?
Hippolyta's gonna find a way to bring George back.
Right? Or
Like,
she's gonna
even if it's just his spirit to find out what happened, I feel like it's not over.
Or I think
Force Ghost. Told you.
I think her journey could be the process of trying to bring him back. So we go through some other shit. So maybe she doesn't bring him
The
straight away.
book has a
but that
lot
trying.
of like bringing people back to life.
Yes.
Aspects, and George is like heavy in the book, so that was like kind of like a subtle difference that I was going to say. Like, I think he is coming back in some way, shape, or
some
form.
form. Maybe as a Force Ghost, Star Wars style.
Yeah, because I've seen on some feeds, people are like, "Yeah, but when is George coming back?" Like, because apparently he is a big character in the book, so it's like you can't not bring him back.
He's a big character, but not. He's an ongoing character that's just always there. He's not necessarily a big character, but he's there to kind of give.
Maybe he'll be a
information.
ghost. I mean, this episode was about Yoda's ghost in this universe.
A lot of ghosts.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Next episode, yo, check out this ghost. This is the homie.
Final
He's gonna be with
question.
us.
Uncle Ghost.
Final question. Well, final question, 2 parts. How deep does the elevator actually go? And what's it for? Like, where does it go to? You know, like, we don't
Where's
know.
that tunnel go, man?
Because as it's dropping, we see the symbols flash. It's almost like it's going further. Is it a tunnel to hell? Does the elevator transport somewhere else? You know, as it goes down, because you see those things light up. Maybe it's a portal.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much it, right? I think that's it for this episode. Nothing else specifically. We've touched on everything. I think that's it. Next week, I haven't yet seen the preview for next week, so I don't know what to expect. But I'm excited.
Me
either way.
neither. I'm gonna go watch it now.
Me neither. I feel like my
I
brain's
saw
gonna
it.
burst. I'm so excited though.
Should we watch it live together?
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna watch it. I think I'll watch it after this and see.
Yeah, I gotta watch it after because
But-
I need my sound and like my full experience.
Right. Thank you, Mercedes, as always.
It's a pleasure, Dave.
Thank you, Rocket Mike.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you, Raven.
Thank you.
My name is English Dave, and I'm telling all the ghosts to get out of my house.
Get
But-
out of our podcast, our Zoom
But-
chat, whatever.
They can get out, but what should they do, Raven?
Keep it nerdy.
Yeah. Peace out, guys.